Welcome back to the fourth video in the Chasing Psychological Safety series. Today we're going to be talking about courage and openness and the difference between the two. So we're talking about courage and openness as in the last video, if you saw that, we hope so, we were talking about the 6 categories that have been used to help us to measure, understand and improve psychological safety in teams in the software. So those categories are courage, openness, flexibility, resilience, engagement and learning. So we're here today to talk about the first of those two, courage and openness.
Right, and as we were saying in the other video, it is sometimes confusing that we have to have both. Because the assumption is, essentially, if you're courageous and you're brave, surely that just means you're going to be able to be open. And we find that there's a distinction between them. You could indeed be courageous and you could be daring and you could be taking risks, but at the same time refrain from speaking up. So essentially our openness category is just measuring how able and willing people are to speak up and say things that they found while they were being courageous or express themselves, whereas courage is being measured differently actually. In the courage part in the software is being measured by behavioral cues, whereas the openness part is being either self-reported or reported by others as existent or not. So essentially, just because you're courageous and willing to go there and do things that are big, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be speaking up in a team meeting. So we need to measure both, right? And both need to be in place for psychological safety. It's what is the probability we can have a psychologically safe team where there's neither courage nor speaking up, or one without the other. In fact, I think everyone seeing this would have seen Brené Brown's amazing series and conversations on bravery and courage. And it's amazing relationship to vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, vulnerability is at the core of psychological safety. There's no way for us to measure that directly. Are you being vulnerable?
Yeah.
But we can measure if people are courageous enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that translates very clearly into, first and foremost, the team leader role. So when we're doing work with leaders, there's a huge piece to kind of say to leaders and really resonates with leaders, it's okay to be vulnerable. And that falls into the category of, sometimes being courageous, sometimes being openness is part of being open is part of being vulnerable. And that really kind of liberates leaders as well. And it means they can then create, if they start displaying that openness by being vulnerable, that creates a kind of snowball effect. And that's one of Brené Brown's phrases. And the team starts to emulate that and to be more open and to be more honest, be more courageous, and then we're starting to really build that culture of psychological safety, which is so powerful for performance in teams.
And one thing I think that's not being said enough about courage is that it's a continuous state. The most uncomfortable of things that we have to accomplish for ourselves, but as Brené talks about it, it's incredibly addictive to a degree, and it has a self-propulsing effect, is that a word? Where once you start going there and taking risks, you realize after the first few times that the world hasn't broken into, you haven't fallen to the middle of the earth, nothing horrendous has happened. You can do that. That is, it's safe enough to do it. So you have to take those first steps to realize that that's the case. That the more you do it, the more that courage muscle exercises and grows, and you'll find yourself taking good risks in all kinds of other situations. And once you do, hopefully, you also find the courage to speak up in a team environment. And those two things put together are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if we get those, then we can have psychological safety. And if we have psychological safety, we'll have productivity. And if we have productivity, then we're all winning. It's so corny that I finish this way every time, but until we say it a million times, we're not going to get there. So thanks so much for listening again, guys. Leave us, some comments, write to us.
Get in touch. We'd love to know what you think.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.